The first ever organized investment forum for the diaspora has taken place in the country, with a loud-sounding message sent to the government and general public that these groups of persons are an important force to reckon with if Cameroonians join the restricted groups of emerging economies. With persistent clamor by some for the government to set up a department for the diaspora in the Ministry of External Relations, the just ended forum was a venue par excellence to reiterate these stands. Hello there and welcome to the program. I am Bonima the anchor. In today's edition of Spotlight, we shall zoom in on the important role the diaspora can play in the development of the economy. Apart from regular remittances sent back home to their kin and kindred and occasional jibes at the government, these groups of persons are not really felt in the country's development. In a world of globalization where each and everybody has an important role to play, the role of the diaspora in this movement is, to say the least, invaluable. So what are some of the areas where these peoples excel, and how do they evaluate the first ever come together to be organized by the government? These and more would be the topic of this week's commentary of the program. But before we continue, this is our week's commentary on the role of the diaspora in the development of the economy.
The first ever organized economic forum on investment by the diaspora has triggered debate in most circles across the National Triangle about what these groups of Cameroonians can do to facilitate development in the country. They comprise young, energetic and industrious men and women who have stayed abroad for years while searching for greener pastures. Brains that have been solicited by big companies in economic giants like the US, Germany, Britain and Europe in general. Among them are engineers, doctors, teachers, professionals in different fields, some with great business acumen. With the current global economic crisis and efforts towards a revival by most countries in the world, there is the increasing need for such brains to invest knowledge and skills back in their own country for this economic rebirth. At the moment, remittances in Cameroon stand at only 1%, while in countries like Mali and Senegal, where remittances make for more than 12% of the national economy. But there is a great potential for remarkable improvement. And so the Cameroonian diaspora has been watching with keen interest the economic and social climate in the country, waiting to play its role as a force of positive change, especially given that they have a mastery of new information and communication technologies, a vital tool for development today. As they seek ways of forging partnerships between businessmen back home, government and foreign partners, they expect government to work on improving the business climate. One way would be to follow the suggestions of the Investment Promotion Agency, that foreign investments which are unproductive and have little or no impact on issues such as employment be completely discouraged or scrapped off. They are also expecting a more friendly business climate with more friendly taxes and a revision of the country's investment code, the creation of a one-stop shop, less customs and police harassments. The recent seminar organized in Bamenda on frequency spectrum management indicates that the diaspora can be involved in capacity building to meet Cameroon's development needs. Resource persons from the Millennium Group consultancy firm based in London trained engineers to better manage radio and telephone frequencies. While they prepare professionals back home for great development projects, the diaspora is looking up to government, waiting to see which way it swings with the issue of a dual nationality. Government so far hasn't committed to the matter, but has insinuated some interest in it, given President Paul Biya's promise during a recent visit to Paris that he will give it serious thought. But the intrinsic link between the rather controversial issue of dual nationality and nation building will be a determining factor in the contribution of the diaspora to Cameroon's growth.
Welcome back. You are watching Spotlight on the CRTV. The Millennium Group, or TMG for short, is a consultancy group made up of Cameroonians based in the UK. It offers consultancy in many and varied domains. A founding member and managing director of the group is Dr. Foba Augustin Ngemo, who was in the country recently to share his experience on frequency management. In conjunction with the Telecom Regulatory Board, the TRB, the TMG organized a seminar in Bamenda to show how these consultancy can help from the diaspora. But more importantly, also, the managing director attended the first ever organized investment forum for the diaspora in Yaoundé and shared his experience with participants from the UK, Canada, US, Germany, and elsewhere. He is the man on our one-on-one slot of the program. Stay tuned. Dr. Fobo Augustine Gemo, welcome to CRTV Spotlight.
Thank you, Bonnie.
You are working with a consultancy in the UK known as the TMG. Is that correct?
That's correct. TMG Consultancy is an organization born from a parent group called TMG, which stands for the Millennium Group. It's an organization that came together as a result of us in the diaspora as professionals feeling a need to be able to come together initially just for social purposes. But gradually, when you come together, you begin to look at other common goods, other common needs, and in that came the need for professional activities like business consultancy, as well as the charitable activities like the TMG Foundation, which we have helping a number of organizations in Cameroon.
And what is the TMG all about? How does it function?
Well, TMG as a group was set up because of the need for professionals in the diaspora to be able to come together, because one of the things that you generally lack in the diaspora is the community, because we don't have a huge community as such. So there's always a need for people to come together in some way or the other. And TMG, being one of such group, came together primarily as a professional group with a social interest, but then developed to create other, indulge in other interests. One was the setup of a TMG Foundation that carries out a number of charitable activities in Cameroon. We support a number of Cameroonian charities and help them to develop in terms of management support. And in the UK, we look for other opportunities to get grants in favor of those organizations in Cameroon or in support of their application whenever they do. And as part of that setup of TMG, we move on to set up a consultancy arm, which was to look at how we can achieve the same or similar goals to what the foundation does by using business or market principles. And that's where TMG Consultancy comes in. It's a trading company that provides services not for charity, for paid for, but at the same time, as we've seen with the partnerships that we have with TRB, that we can actually do what is almost charitable, but through market forces, using market forces in terms of providing services that are paid for, but then through the partnership that we have with other organizations, help those organizations to achieve greater goals than they would otherwise have achieved. So the group itself is headed by Dr. Sako Benley, and the coordinator of it is Dr. Sam Atonsiri. The TMG Consultancy Wing is where I head. I'm the director of, alongside my other partners, Dr. Charles Che and Dr. Sam Atonsiri as well as Mrs. Andine Wana. There's a team of directors responsible for driving TMG Consultancy. But as a group, we still meet in the general group to discuss other opportunities and look for ways of advancing the existing opportunities.
Yes, you were in Bamenda recently, the TMG in Bamenda recently, in conjunction with the Commonwealth Telecommunication Organization, CTO, and the Telecommunication Regulatory Board to organize a seminar on frequency management. How do you come into organizing a seminar, a very technical seminar like the one you did in Bamenda?
Okay, yeah, thank you. Let me take you back one step, which is to just explain a little bit as to how the relationship between TRB, the CTO, and TMG comes about. It's a relationship that is very central to the diaspora initiatives that we see now, which is that TMG, as a professional group, met with TRB, a member of the CTO, who at the time, TRB was just a consumer of services. And through the contacts that we had and the communication, the engagement we carried out with TMG and the TRB, along with along with the presence of the CTO, Chief Executive, in a social setting which we organized just to welcome the team from TRB. We were able to get some confidence between ourselves to be able to work with TRB to achieve a different level of status within the CTO. And that was for it to become a service provider, using us as the consultants for that service. And that was the beginning of the relationship that we've had with TRB. And so coming here and the delivery of the course which you have in Bamenda is as a result of that relationship which we have with the CTO, where we are providers of services to CTO members, and we do that in collaboration with TRB. In this case, TRB was the consumer of those services that we're providing, but when we provide those services in some other countries, which we've been doing, Mauritius, South Africa, Solomon Islands, Papua New Guinea, we do that in collaboration with TRB. And it is about taking resources that we have in the diaspora, experts who are very much respected in their own fields. We're taking those resources to enhance the sharing of knowledge, which is key to TRB's own formation. And so the course in Bamenda, the workshop that was in Bamenda.
Before coming to the workshop in Bamenda, you said before that the TRB was a consumer. Now it is also a provider. How do you, let's understand being a consumer and being a provider.
Yes, as a consumer of services, you typically would apply to the CTO, which is something like a cooperative, you would say, for services that you need and areas that you know you are deficient in. And the CTO will tender that out to consultants of experts for someone who can then provide you those services using funds that have been contributed into the CTO by the member organizations. And so in that respect, you can always, as a consumer of those services, request for services within areas that you need or you lack expertise. As a provider of services, you need to use the expertise that you have to help educate other people in other countries. And therefore, the other members of the CTO who are themselves requesting for services, they can have those services met by a provider, which traditionally has been a divide of services flowing from the developed to the underdeveloped countries, or from the European countries in general to the African countries or the South Pacific countries.
Now to the south.
Now to south, as they often say. And so through this relationship, we have been able to change that perception that knowledge flows only from north to south, and TRB, in effect, in collaboration with TMG Consultancy, has been able to present itself as a provider of services in this knowledge-sharing undertaking which CTO.
The new information and communication technologies is an ever-changing and rapidly developing industry. How can your consultancy help the TRB to be abreast with these ever-changing technologies?
We're doing it through the type of services that we're providing, typically like the course that we provided in Bamenda just a week ago. And it's about getting people who need those expertise, people who are in TRB and who are deficient in particular knowledge areas, get them into the training program, get our consultants, which again, as I said, these are consultants that are experts in various fields. And because we don't necessarily have consultants working on a day-by-day basis for us, we have the scope to be able to recruit consultants from any part of the world in any area of technology. And so to that extent, it's about identifying those areas where we need to be able to train people in, and making those provisions available to us, TMG Consultancy, privately, or through the CTO as TRB does normally. And those programs, and through those requests, they will be able to provide the right caliber of consultants to come and help TRB to achieve those goals.
And when we talk of frequency management, it's a very complicated exercise. We talk of radio frequencies, telephone frequencies, airport frequencies actually